And now for a session presented by Visit Phoenix. Please welcome Chief Sales Officer for Visit Phoenix, Lorne Edwards, in discussion with Skift Meetings branded content editor, Angela Tupper.
I want to start by thanking you for joining us today, Lorne.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here, and I think I brought the sunshine all the way from Phoenix, so you can thank me later for that.
I don't know how many people in the audience know this, but Phoenix is the 5th largest city in the United States, and among that top 5, it's the one that's growing the fastest. So Lorne, with all the change that's happening and this rapid growth and the innovation that goes along with it, where do you see DMOs and CVBs like Visit Phoenix fitting into the equation?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. The CVBs and DMOs, we're all destination marketers, and we've all done a great job with that. But, sort of reflecting over the last few years, and certainly within the last 3 or 4 or so, that there's more of a business imperative for DMOs to become more destination stewards of a marketplace, stewards of making sure that we're good custodians of our future and our communities. So that role requires us to become really involved with our elected officials, our various stakeholder groups, our seats of academia, all of the thought leaders, and making sure that we have a seat at the table to ensure that our communities are, number one, safe and welcoming, and that we are creating that sense of place, and that we're aligned with our economic development entities to make sure that our destination remains competitive, because that's that ultimate creation of that sense of place that we actually get to market, and that's where that other M of marketing does come into play.
Right, so how does this managerial role then tie back into the marketing mission that you have?
No, it's great. We, from that standpoint, CVBs, destinations are competing for attracting visitation from all corners of the globe. And so that is where that imperative comes in, because we know that they're seeking authentic experiences, a whole slew of varied experiences, and we want to make sure that we have a seat at the table of protecting what that looks like. So it helps to kind of build a construct and a framework around how we message, how we position, not only to our visitors, but to our local stakeholders just the same, because what we know is that a lot of folks, and even elected officials, sometimes they have a hard time understanding what it is that we do. So it's that constant reminder of saying, we've got to make sure that information stays relevant, make sure that we have a seat at the table to ensure that our communities are lifted up in the right way.
Right, I think in one of our Skift sessions yesterday, Sean O'Neill said that if you don't have a seat at the table, then you're on the table.
That's right.
So how is Visit Phoenix then applying this idea of destination management to attracting more events and meetings to the city?
Well, I think it starts with understanding what are those growth sectors, those growth industry sectors around your community that the city has said, we're going to put down a marker on. Whether it's we want to be the best in healthcare, we want to be the best in STEM development, and those types of knowledge industry disciplines. And so, who are the conventions? Which conventions are steeped in that? And also talking to our community development folks and understanding the Greater Phoenix Economic Council. They're involved in business attractions. What are those industries that they're going after? So I feel like that is where we come in. And just to give you an example, I think it's pretty well known that Phoenix is quickly becoming the hotbed for microchip manufacturing based on the federal government's investment, what's going on with Taiwan Semiconductor, in creating this whole new manufacturing city just north of downtown. And so we were successful in having that conversation with GPEC, our Commerce Authority, our city's EcoDev development folks, partners, in saying, how do we create some confluence there? And so we were successful in winning the Semicon West for multiple years in downtown Phoenix, which will transform and reshape that industry, and also create a platform, a conduit for workforce development, as we talk about our academic institutions, even at the high school level, to create that pathway and that pipeline for careers and involvement and engagement with that particular industry to ensure that it's sustainable well into the future.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I mean, it's hard to get more in touch with the future of industry than with microchips. And you're looking towards a future with this young generation as well.
We don't have to look too far back, because that was a big issue. You guys remember too, when you couldn't get parts, you couldn't get chips, and those things were not available. So that is sort of one of those knock-on effects, a good wake-up call for where private sector and industry and our governments can sort of align to say, we've got to make sure that we're investing in these. And so, what are the events that we can target and bring to our market, and through collaboration with our various stakeholder partners around the community to amplify that.
Right, and another sort of standout feature of Phoenix is your Phoenix Bioscience Core. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Phoenix Biosciences Core. So the PBC is this 36-acre campus of ingenuity, where next generation, cures and therapies are being incubated. And so over the last 10 years, we have looked at the PBC as our true partners in destination attraction, business development. And so we embarked upon this journey about 10 years ago, and that really was the foresight and the vision of mayors years ago, to create this campus where our competing universities, ASU and U of A and NAU, they actually play nice in the sandbox right there on campus. So it's kind of interesting to kind of watch that play out, especially on football season. But, I say that to say this has really been transformative for us. And since we've been marketing, that as part of our learning environment, we've grown our healthcare business by about 42%,
Wow.
Which is pretty impressive. So it's allowed us to raise the caliber of events that we've been able to go out and attract. It's your chest physicians, your critical care medicines, and all of those big associations are now looking at Phoenix downtown as this, oh my gosh, what can be possible here? What can we dig into? What resources are available? And so they participate with us in our sales missions, our site visits. They're part of our fabric of what we communicate and message about from a marketing standpoint.
Can you tell me a little bit more about these events that have been drawn to the city precisely because of these resources that you have?
Yeah, certainly. As I mentioned a few of them, I can share the Diabetes Educators Conference, years ago. I know it's well researched by the NIH that the native tribal populations, they suffer from the diabetes as a major disease that plagues that population. And so we started this conversation with diabetes educators saying, we want to create this opportunity where we can shine a spotlight from an education standpoint with this community to say, here's some advances that we can then use when we come into your market. And so there's partnerships with the Phoenix Indian Medical Council. And so they're going to be doing testing and all sorts of interfacing and interactions and engagement and education with that population. So again, it goes back to how are we making that difference and that connection with our underserved populations and our various communities. So it's truly been something that aha moment. It shouldn't be an aha moment, but it is. And so that's something that our community is really embracing, starting to embrace, and are heavily leaning into.
That's so fantastic. This bioscience center and your microchip industry are creating this kind of incubator-like environment where, the things that are happening at the event, the things people are talking about, relate to on-the-ground initiatives. So, you're really taking advantage of what the city has to offer, but also leaving a legacy.
And I think that that's the key too. It's how do we make that community a better place, and who are the partners that we as DMOs need to engage with and understand what's in it for them. That really helps elevate the communities and make this place a better place to live, work, visit, and invest in as well.
Do you have any examples of events that have really benefited from this sort of coordinating role that you have and the way that it can kind of enable connections between great minds and sector expertise?
Yeah, it's, we know when you put the brightest and best minds in a room, way smarter than me, it's kind of cool to stand back and watch it. And it's been pretty cool, when we look at the golf course superintendents convention that will bring 15,000 folks into Phoenix in less than 6 months. That is a game changer for us because it allows us to have a true seat at the table to talk about water use and conservation, reclamation methods. So a part of the convention center will be transformed into this sort of incubation show and tell. They partner with the U.S. Golf Association, and so there's this vested interest. Especially, we want to be a sustainable desert city, right? So that's a big part of what this convention is going to allow. So we're going to have a mayor, a governor, having a true seat at the table, talking with these thought leaders. Phoenix, as you all know, is a great golf destination. We like to say golf lives here. So there is this vested interest in us to protect that industry, its lives and livelihoods, but also, most importantly, arguably, is this future sustainability and protecting that environment.
Yeah, I mean, you make some great points there. Sustainability is partly our duty to take care of the planet, but also, we need to think about it in terms of sustaining industry. You can't keep the golf industry going unless you learn better ways to manage the water that it requires. Getting back to this idea of destination management, what would you want event organizers to know about the services you offer and how you can play this coordinating role for them?
Yeah, I think that goes back to the core of the management piece we talked about earlier too. So we really want planners to understand that the role has evolved way. That old adage of putting heads in beds. I mean, that's a thing of the past. I mean, that actually is a byproduct of the work that we're doing to best manage our destinations now. And so for meeting planners, I mean, we're having that conversation up front, that strategic discovery call with us. What's in it for them? What do they want to extract? And so I would encourage planners to really utilize your CVBs and your DMO partners to say, because we are the gateway, we're the community, the true community connectors. And so really leaning heavily into that throughout every stage and phase. Who can we introduce them to? What are they going to be talking about? What new discoveries are they going to be testing, in our landscape? So, and we've got the key to that, and we can open those doors and create some opportunities for them to really engage with our community and make a difference. Like, for instance, the annual American Association for Microbiology. They're bringing 5,000 minority students in STEM to Phoenix in just a few weeks. And one of the cool things about what they're doing too is creating track days that will feature opportunities for high schoolers and college students to understand that there are pathways for them to develop and educate and re-educate themselves and, talk about career opportunities. And so that's really cool to see. And for us to be able to say that, we actually had a hand in that is pretty cool.
Well, this is fantastic. We are out of time, but these are some really great insights. And, I think this kind of collaboration and innovation is going to be more necessary than ever. Thank you, Lorne.
Great. Thank you all.